I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Representative Jamie Raskin spoke in favor of a Supreme Court ethics bill at Wednesday's House Judiciary Committee hearing. The Maryland Democrat said that, quote, "We need a real code of ethics that binds every federal judge." In an exchange with Republican Congressman Dan Bishop, Raskin speculated that the Supreme Court leak was done by a conservative. Take a listen to his remarks here.
Does the gentleman from Maryland seek recognition?
Move to strike the last word.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to rise in favor of the Supreme Court Ethics, Recusal, and Transparency Act of 2022. This is long overdue and urgently important legislation. But it follows from the essential and time-honored principle of our government, which James Madison articulated in Federalist Number 10, and I quote, "No man is allowed to be a judge in his own cause." And here I'll just say parenthetically, that means case. No man is allowed to be a judge in his own case because his interest would certainly bias his judgment and not improbably corrupt his integrity. Nobody can be a judge in their own case, and yet this is precisely the rule on the Supreme Court today. Every justice is invited to be a judge in his or her own case when someone raises a conflict of interest on the judge's part. That's ludicrous, unless you think that being on the Supreme Court confers upon you superhuman powers and that you have no interests and no bias and no prejudice. And I would hope that every member of the United States House of Representatives Judiciary Committee would recognize that that system doesn't work. And we need a real code of ethics that binds every federal judge, including U.S. Supreme Court justices, because nobody is above the law and nobody is perfect. Ask James Madison. So now our colleagues are in a panic because, like the dog who caught the car after demanding for decades the destruction of the constitutional right to privacy, they have packed and gerrymandered the Supreme Court and created a majority that is hell-bent on doing just that, destroying the constitutional right to privacy, a right that every public opinion poll shows commanding majorities of the American people across the country support. So now that there's a leak of this long-running and obvious campaign to assault the rights of tens of millions of American women, they want everyone to focus on the leak and not the decision. It's as if somebody had leaked Plessy versus Ferguson, or someone had leaked the Dred Scott decision, and instead of talking about the substance of the matter, they want to talk to us about the leak. Well, let's talk about the leak. First of all, I don't like the leak. I take umbrage at anybody's imputation that we support the leak. It's ridiculous. And since we're being invited to guess as to its provenance, I would guess it's a member of the 5-justice majority or a clerk or someone who's in their employ, because they're hell-bent on destroying the constitutional right to privacy. And why would I say it comes from that side? Well, they have a clear and obvious motive to try to lock in the presumed anti-Roe versus Wade majority that was reflected in the leaked papers, to keep Chief Justice Roberts from being able to pull away any of those members who had signed on with Justice Alito to establish a different point of view, something more like what Justice O'Connor had advanced in Planned Parenthood versus Casey.
Would the gentleman yield briefly?
I will in just a moment. Let me just get through my points and then I'm happy to come back to you. So I don't, and in general, I want to be very clear about this. I don't like the leak because right now what we've got is a 6-3 right-wing Supreme Court, and if they begin to make leaks a habit, then they will be leaking out decisions that will help overwhelmingly right-wing corporate litigants before the Supreme Court make a deal before the actual judgment or decision of the court is rendered. So I understand the strategy of trying to distract everybody by pointing fingers about the leak, but everything to my mind indicates the leak comes from the side of the people who've got the votes in order to lock in that majority. Now, what's a bigger deal?
Would the gentleman yield just to a point on that real quickly?
by all means.
Aren't you engaged in rank speculation?
Just as you were, just as the members, and I started by saying it was rank speculation because there were members on that side saying we don't care about the leak. Then I say you don't care about the leak.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the source of the leak.
Are Republicans the only people allowed to invent facts? I mean, my God.
Well, I guess what I'm asking, sir, is you're saying you're speculating about the source of the leak on the court. I mean, you're talking about protecting our democracy.
Just as the members on that side.
I'm sorry, I did not speculate in public.
Well, let's take it back. If we're being asked to guess, I would say that the purpose and the function of that leak is to lock in a 5-justice majority to overturn Roe versus Wade. And there's only 3 liberal justices on the court. Their clerks, I imagine.
The time of the gentleman has expired. For what purpose is